What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Phaithful Phanatics Show. As always, I am one half of your host here, Dylan Davis. You can give me a follow on Twitter at DylanJD98. And of course, my faithful co-host to my right, Matt McGinty. Give him a follow on Twitter at Matt_McGinty. And if you didn't know by now, we are a part of Team DSM Media. So if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel. Give us a follow on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitch, wherever you get your social media content. And of course, give us a follow on Twitter at DSM_media. Our man Scotty, one of our co-founders here, from Scotty Talks NBA, and my co-host from Turf Talk, will be joining us in just a few moments. So before he gets in here, I got a quick ad read for you guys because, of course, DSM Media and the Phaithful Fanatics Show are brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped just launched their fourth-generation trimmer, the Lawnmower 4.0. You heard that right, the 4.0. Join over 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer just for you. 20% off and free worldwide shipping with code Phanatics at manscaped.com. Manscaped engineered the ultimate groin and body trimmer by focusing on intelligent functionality and an incredibly comfortable grooming experience. Their fourth-generation trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. This upgraded trimmer includes a multi-function on and off switch that can engage a travel lock. It also gives you the ability to turn the 4000K LED spotlight on and off when needed for a more precise shave. And did I mention the wireless charging? The new wireless charging system uses electromagnetic induction, which can help battery length last longer. Get 20% off and free shipping with code Phanatics at manscaped.com. Again, that is 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com using our promo code Phanatics. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. Your balls will certainly thank you. And here's the third and final piece to DSM and the third and final piece to the Phaithful Fanatics Show today. Scotty, what is going on, my man?
Hey, what's good, guys? Just got off work, so sorry I'm late.
You're good, bro. Thanks for coming on.
Of course.
Well, while you're getting settled in, and before we get into what we got to discuss today, let's start with the Gint, who was down at the link yesterday. Gint, what was that atmosphere like? Even though we are extremely down on this team heading into last Sunday, what was the atmosphere like? What was your day like? I'm sure you had a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a great day. The tailgate was obviously fun. It always is fun, but I said to myself going there, I was like, I'm not going to get that like sense of optimism before I walked in the stadium. And, have a couple drinks, you bet really good in the 1 o'clock slate. And I was like, there's no way the Eagles are losing this game, dude. The Dallas lost. I was like, the tiles are coming together. We're going to be a faker. We're going to be buyers. And gladly I was wrong because this team is so bad in so many different ways. So, but overall, it was a good day, truthfully.
Hold on. Did you say you bet well in the 1 o'clock slate? What the hell did you have yesterday? Because the 1 o'clock slate was so damn weird.
So whenever me and my buddies get together, we always take the same bets because we like to root for the same thing. So we took the Pats, we took the Broncos, and I think we took the Vikings to cover maybe. So we were up some money, and we're like, yo, let's just make the ticket back. Let's just throw it all on the Eagles. And didn't work out.
Oh, man. Oh, that's the worst, dude.
There you go.
What made you? I'm curious. What made you pick the Broncos?
My buddy Mike, shout out Mike Ope, he came up with that one. I love the Pats -3. That was like my input on the situation. Like I said, we all just take the same bets, so that's kind of where that came from.
That's interesting, man. Yeah, the Broncos dominated. They have had the Cowboys number. I think it's like the last 6 times they played or something like that. So
yeah.
We should beat them next week.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get down to business. Let's get down to business for today's show, guys. We do have a lot to discuss. Obviously, we're going to start off by reacting to the Eagles' 27-24 loss to the LA Chargers yesterday. Of course, the Sixers go down to Chicago on Saturday night to beat the Bulls for the second time in a week shorthanded. So we're going to talk about that game. The COVID bug continues to run wild through the Sixers locker room. Now Joel Embiid is in the health and safety protocols because he tested positive. I don't know how long he'll be out. They do have a game tonight, shorthanded once again in New York. The first half of a back-to-back between the Knicks and then the Bucks tomorrow night. Shout out to the Flyers for getting another 2 points over the weekend on Saturday night, getting a win in Washington versus the Capitals. They're 6-2-2 on the year. So if you're not paying attention to the Flyers, start paying attention because this team is really good, and they've also been shorthanded at the beginning of the season. But let's start with the Eagles, guys. Scotty, obviously, you and I pre-gamed it a little bit on Sunday morning and gave our thoughts on it. It was very simple, right? Run the ball, continue to do what you did in week 8 against the Lions. Show me that you can do it against a formidable opponent in the Chargers. How would the defense react? And I'm not going to lie, guys, this was not the perfect, but this was just about the perfect outcome, in my opinion, like for me personally. Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni both showed signs of growth and improvement. Sirianni probably called the best game of his young season so far as the Eagles head coach and play caller. He continued to run the ball. The play calling was a bit more balanced this week. Jalen Hurts threw 17 passes. Hell, I even saw a successful play action pass after consecutive run plays. Jalen played his heart out, obviously seeing him, flip and dive for first downs, giving the Eagles the lead down the stretch. He was 11 of 17 for 162 and a tutty on Sunday night. And this year's first round pick in Devontae Smith showed that he's probably the real deal, reeling in 5 balls for 116 and a touchdown. And by the way, that's 116 of Jalen Hurts' 162 yards, which is another conversation I'm sure we'll get to throughout the show. But they were competitive. They were exciting to watch. The game was fun to watch. They improved. They showed growth, but they still lost, saving myself and this fan base from a potentially, fraudulent playoff push that everyone was kind of talking about. You win this game, you see what the schedule's like. We see what the other teams' records in the NFC are like for that 6 and 7 seed as the wild card. The Eagles are mathematically right in it. Well, guess what? They lose. They get the 3 and 6. We don't have to worry about no fraudulent type of playoff push, but we did see some positives on Sunday night. So to me, it was kind of the all around perfect performance. Scotty, I told you if they did the things I was looking for against the Chargers, I was more impressed with a Chargers loss than I was the Lions win, if that makes sense to you guys. So I'll defer to you guys now. I liked what I saw offensively. Obviously, I'm sure one of you two are going to speak on the defense. Gint's already smiling, so his troll self down there is going to have a lot to say, and I agree. So, Gint, I'll throw it to you first.
You said some kind words. That was a nice way to put it. First observation is Jalen Hurts loves the left side of the field. I don't know if you guys saw his pass chart. That's a red flag as you see the TikTok trend going around right now. But yeah, I love the mention of Devontae Smith. Devontae Smith was awesome yesterday. Outside of that on the offense, that's about it. Jalen Reagor is still horrible. Do we want to talk about the screen pass or no?
Oh, you mean when he's
still
caught when he caught his one pass and ran 6 yards backwards?
He's still going backwards. But yeah, I don't want to harp too much on the offense because they did look okay. And I don't really want to give many positives because I'm so not positive on this team. So, Devontae Smith, Jalen Hurts, that's about it for me.
Okay. Scotty, my guy, I think you saw some improvement as well offensively. What did you see on Sunday against the Chargers that, maybe or maybe not impressed you?
So, first things first, you guys mentioned it's such a weird week in the NFL this week. And the thing that threw the weird week off was the fact that the Eagles just really couldn't put it together and win this game.
Yeah.
It would have brought everything full circle as far as, just being completely weird. But as far as the Eagles, it's crazy. It puts me between a rock and a hard place because the offense obviously showed the improvements. Maybe not as much Jalen Hurts as it is Nick Sirianni, as far as his consistency with the game plan. He was getting away from it early, in those first 2 drives, and then he kind of reverted back to it. I'm glad he didn't panic, once the Chargers went up like that. So I'm happy with Sirianni. I thought, I agree with what you said, Dylan. I thought that was his best play calling performance of the season. It was one of those games where once again, it seems like the Eagles, kind of, shoot themselves in the foot. And it was a situation where they could have won. It was a great opportunity. And I think that's what's disappointing. Obviously overall, the result was not disappointing. the 3-point loss to a team that I consider a contender in the AFC and the NFL as a whole. But once again, we're looking at this quarterback shit where, and I hate to call it quarterback shit, but like that's what it is. I mean, these guys are not missing; they're not incompleting passes against the Eagles, and it's kind of crazy. It's frustrating to watch. A guy like Justin Herbert, who I consider top 5, top 7 quarterback in the NFL, and he's just allowed to go out there, build a rhythm throughout the entire game, and just be totally comfortable. I don't think we had. I saw it reported in the ESPN stat sheet. It said 1 QB hit. I heard that there were actually 0 QB hits in reality, and there's definitely 0 sacks if there was only 1 QB hit. So when I'm looking at the money we've invested in that defensive line, whether it's not bringing blitz pressure, they did
though yesterday. They did. I think that I saw they blitzed about 30%.
Steven Nelson blitz once. Jonathan Gannon, when I'm watching a quarterback get these like career games against us, and I saw a tweet earlier where, like LeGarrette Blount had a career game this year. Keenan Allen with 12 catches this year. These are notable players. It's not like you should be game planning against these guys in the game plan. And it's like every single week, like the Cowboys had a career game. Tyreek Hill has a career game against the Eagles. Why is this happening? I don't understand it. And, after this game, I'm completely okay with firing Jonathan Gannon like right now. Like I'm literally fine with that right now. Like
he's on the hot seat. And here's the other issue though, when it comes down to it is, so we did just give Nick Sirianni a ton of credit for his play calling performance on Sunday. But that's your hand selected boy, bro. Like, let's not let that just slip by. Like, that's Nick, you brought him. That's your hand selected boy. Howie and Jeff, you okayed the selection. So it's not just, it's the thought process. What went behind him being the selection as the DC this year. And yeah, that's one of my takeaways. And it was a conversation that we can definitely get into, but is it Gannon versus the talent, right? And obviously Gannon is getting crushed right now, and it's well deserved. But the talent's not there. Now, however, I refuse to believe in the secondary that Darius Slay, Steven Nelson, Avonte Maddox, who has had a pretty good year so far statistic-wise, Rodney McLeod, Anthony Harris, are that bad that they have given up 5 or 6 games where they've allowed the opposing quarterback to complete 80% of their passes. That's scheme. Okay. Now, when you want to talk about the linebackers, not being good enough, you want to talk about the defensive line not being able to get home on their own or stop the run. That's one thing. The secondary being that soft, like softer than baby shit, dude. That doesn't happen. Scotty, shout out to Brendan Deek for this number last night. Derek Carr, Patrick Mahomes, Dak Prescott, and Justin Herbert. 4 quarterbacks this year to play the Eagles. Combined numbers against this defense. 108 of 128. 1,195 passing yards, 12 touchdowns. 108 of 128 against 4 teams. That's unheard of. That doesn't happen in the NFL. It doesn't happen anywhere. So he's definitely on the hot seat, and it is well deserved. I'd love to know. Remember a couple weeks ago when Sirianni apparently ripped into Gannon and he had a real stern talking to with him. Yeah, well, clearly that message or whatever was said isn't getting across there. But the defense was horrible. We know that. But my eyes also revert. Go ahead, Gannon.
I was going to say the defense is horrible. They were. Like that's not even a small sample size. Sometimes baby stats get skewed by a small sample size. That's 4 weeks of just utter domination. 1 away for 128 is, when you read me that stat, my jaw was like, whoa, that I knew we were bad, but that's a combination of scheme and talent.
Yeah.
You're not just that bad without both of those parts being very bad.
No, that's very true. And Scotty, you did mention, Jalen Hurts wasn't perfect yesterday. Obviously, the throw to Devontae Smith, that has to be on target. That's a touchdown. The first drive to Dallas Goedert, I mean, my God, he hits him at 7-0 off the bat.
That shit blows me, man. I'm a Dallas Goedert stand.
But Scotty, let's take Dallas Goedert aside. He had 3 catches, 43 yards. Obviously, not the numbers we were looking for. But I want to particularly focus on the other wide receivers outside of wide receiver 1 and Devontae Smith. Obviously, he only had 1 catch for whatever last week against the Lions, but this team just lacks talent all around on both sides of the ball. But their skill position players are brutal. And I want to talk. I can't wait to get our setup a little bit better, and we're going to have a phone number for DSM where our shows can have live call-ins, because I want to talk to the people who tried to sell me on some of these young wide receivers this year. Jalen Reagor. I don't know if this has ever been done. He didn't just not catch a ball. He caught one. He finished the game with 1 catch for -6 yards. You guys know he posted another picture to Instagram about how he's going to beat the odds this week.
I unfollowed.
Quez Watkins. 2 catches for 9 yards. Now, maybe Quez has a little more hope than Jalen Reagor going forward, but I can definitively tell you today, November 8th, 2021, Jalen Reagor is a bust. Jalen Reagor is not a first-round pick. Jalen Reagor ain't a second, a third, or a fourth-round pick. He should have been lumped in in the 5th and 6th round with Quez Watkins and John Hightower where they were selected. Okay? Because I can't do. I don't know if the dude knows how to get vertical. He's never going vertical. It's it's east and west, or he's going backwards. He runs backwards on punt returns. He runs backwards on screen passes. I can't watch another week of it. But it's not just him. Like, I know we're going to pick on him, and especially because he's a little more outspoken for whatever reason. But Quez, I mean, really, dude, 2 catches for 9 yards after last week's performance. Quez hasn't had a game, I don't think, where he's caught more than 3 balls. And that Chargers defense, not only can they not stop the run, they were missing their first 2 or 3 corners yesterday and got suffered injuries throughout the game in their secondary. And you can't get open? Now, I know we talk a lot about Jalen Hurts just not seeing the field well enough, and that's kind of prohibiting, some things from happening down the field. You can't get open against the LA Chargers with a weakened secondary.
I'm looking at the box score, and you go to the receiving section, and you look at the Chargers.
It's something, dude.
And it's a CBS receipt, and then you go to ours, and it's 4 names. 2 of them had 3 combined receptions.
3 combined receptions for an overall 3 yards.
Yeah, it is so brutal.
Overall 3 yards. Yeah, man. The crazy thing about Jalen Reagor.
That's math for you, Scotty.
It's crazy. The crazy thing about Jalen Reagor is, like you said, it's like regardless of the stat sheet, the going backwards, like the mental errors. He doesn't even have like the first round athleticism that you want to see, right? Like, I thought this guy was going to be some crazy.
I thought he was like this speed demon that you get the ball in his hands and he's off to the races.
Yeah,
like, he's a playmaker.
I don't know if it's because he's put on weight since he's entered the league, like what the case may be, if he's put on too much muscle, but he does not fly. Like, you see players that fly around when they get the ball, it's electric. I don't feel that, bro. Like, I don't feel that when he gets the ball in his hands. And for Quez, 55 snaps in yesterday's game and 2 catches, like that, it's just crazy to me, the fan base. Like you said, they tried to sell you on these guys coming into the season. And mind you, I was all in on the youth development, but we all knew in the back of our mind.
I bought in at the beginning. I tried to sell myself after they were telling me, like, and you see some of the catches in the preseason and all, and it's like, okay, well, where the hell did that go?
But the thing is, like, in the back of our minds, like at the bottom of our hearts, we knew that this team needed a wide receiver 2 or even a wide receiver 1, a veteran wide receiver. And, I get the stuff with OBJ. I don't think the Eagles even have a chance at OBJ. Like, I doubt it. And if you don't want OBJ for his off-the-field stuff, if you think he's a locker room cancer, that's fine. Do not come at me about snaps for Quez Watkins. Do not bring in a more talented receiver. This dude is a 6th-round pick. And we want to preserve snaps for 55 snaps for 2 catches? I'm not like, what are we talking about here? Like, Philadelphia fans are so hilarious, man. And I'm part of it, you know what I mean? We sit here and discredit these players. Like, I feel like we did this with AB too. Like, no, hell no. forget AB. He's washed. Dude, AB will come to our practice and wash every single receiver not named Devontae Smith, and he might even do it to Devontae Smith. AB is as talented as hell, and I feel the same way about OBJ. To have Eagles fans like just turn their shoulder to these guys with like superior talent for a 6th-round draft pick, and then Jalen Reagor, who is probably the worst wide receiver of his draft in the first 3 rounds at least, right? Like,
I'd love to look at that list. Shout out to the former 2nd-round draft pick too that we took out of Stanford. I mean,
Jay Jaw can't stay healthy now. Like,
a former 1st and a former 2nd-round draft pick at that position combined for 1 catch for -6 yards. Now, granted, I believe Jay Jaw is injured at the moment.
Yeah.
Never mind, I won't say what I was going to say, but Gint, anything else you want to throw out there about the receivers?
Yeah. So we're sitting here talking about all these skill players and how we don't have
this is going to be so rude. I already know what's
how
going
we don't have any skill with those players in the skill positions. We're lining up. We might have 3 first-round draft picks. Does Jalen Hurts buy himself a 2nd year because of the amount of other holes that are there?
Potentially,
Phil
tweeted
that out, and it's the first time I've ever really considered it.
Yeah,
but how can you spend another 1st-round draft pick on a wide receiver?
I know. With the guy who's selecting these wide. Now, granted, again, he took Devontae Smith, who we're all in love with at the moment, so it's hard to crucify that strictly, but it's bad. The one thing before
1 for 3 is not a good percentage.
What I'll say is the only way he does that is if he has games like yesterday where what's in his control, he controls. So like not missing many throws, not leaving a pocket too early. Like outside of that, there's only so much you can do with Quez Watkins and these practice squatters. But
as far as wide receivers, honestly, I wouldn't double dip or triple or quadruple dip in the draft. I would probably go after like a veteran receiver in free agency. We got a little bit of cap space. I would try to get somebody with some experience here to match up with Devontae Smith.
Yeah. No, and what you can't do, something that Howie loves to do, Howie just like tries to throw shit at the wall and hope it sticks, right? Like I understand the last 2 years he selected a wide receiver in the 1st round. But like even the year we selected Reagor in 2020, he then selected 2 or 3 more receivers in the latter rounds. So what he tries to do is he tries to get quantity, and he's like, one of them's got to stick, right? Yeah. Instead of just like saying, okay, in the 1st round, I'm going to select the best receiver available that the scouts, the football people tell me, not the calculator. The calculator ain't telling me this. I'm not bringing in Alshon Jeffrey's replacement because he's big and can catch balls in the red zone. I'm not doing that. Right, so I'm going to listen to the scouts. I'm going to listen to the football minds, and I'm going to go take the best wide receiver available in a higher round. Again, I'm not spending one of the 1st round draft picks on a wide receiver again, but you get my point. Maybe a 2nd rounder, a 3rd rounder.
Yeah,
it's amazing looking at this 2020 receiver class. How bad he missed. I didn't realize that there was this many good names on this list.
I'm pretty sure Pittman's in there, right? Pittman was after him.
Yeah.
Is he in the draft? Pittman
like
Jr.?
Of all the guys that went, like just to throw, obviously Jefferson, Ayuk, Claypool, Judy, Lamb, Ruggs, Darnell Mooney, T. Higgins, Laviska Shenault, Denzel Mims, Michael Pittman, Gabriel Davis, Donovan Peoples-Jones. Like that's a swing and a miss, man. That is
all of those guys are better than them. The only one maybe Ayuk. I think he's having like a similar trajectory in San Fran,
but like those guys could have not caught a ball yesterday and had a better game than Jalen Reagor.
Yeah.
So
4 words, dude. 4 words. Never shaken, only driven. You know where those words came from? Jalen Reagor 2 days ago.
The account that needs to be stripped from him.
He's only got 4
social media.
I mean, I feel bad, like to a certain extent. Like he'd probably block me if he knew we were doing this. But like,
how do you feel bad? Dude, he could have just went down at the line of scrimmage and had a better game yesterday. I don't feel bad. He's choosing to go backwards, dude. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, and you know what the sad part though is? Before we switch up this conversation, the saddest part is like they're even going out of their way to design things to get him the ball. Like against Detroit, they gave him 2 end arounds on the first 2 possessions. The only catch he had, they had to design for him to get the ball in his hands. He can't get open outside of that.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like it.
It's insane, man. It's insane. It's insane that people will still go against the grain and like try to defend him too. Like it's
because he'll catch 1 touchdown pass next week, and then it'll be like
6 yard.
Y'all see that? Y'all see what he just did? Don't sleep on him.
Put the finger up. Shh.
Right. How many yards does Jalen Reagor have? Hold on.
Oh my god. But just while you're looking that up, I would say just the only other takeaway about the offense is and it's like the opposite end of the scale for Jalen Hurts and even Nick Sirianni, because the best offense is an offense that limits Jalen Hurts' throwing attempts, and that's what we've seen over the last 2 weeks. So that was another takeaway for me, is just the fact that keeping the decisions out of Hurts' hands is ultimately what's best for the offense. I guess you could attribute that to a young quarterback to an extent, but
hey, Scotty.
Yeah.
If I gave you one guess, again, I'll give you one too if you didn't look it up. How many yards do you think Jalen Reagor has on the year through 9 games?
Receiving yards? Isn't he even in the triple digits?
Yeah, he's in the triple digits. Yeah,
because I was thinking like 96 yards.
110.
All right, Scotty.
I'm gonna go 110. Sounds good. I'm gonna go 125 max.
You do have to go a little higher.
Oh, okay.
He's got 21 catches for 159 yards.
Okay.
He would break 160 if it wasn't for yesterday. He was over 160 heading into yesterday.
Wait, that is true.
He was just about to eclipse 170, dude. Like 10 receiving yards a week.
Oh, Jamar Chase killed that in 1 week. All right.
I mean, there is levels, but I mean, my God, like, come on.
I mean, is it though? It's one first-round draft pick versus another first-round draft pick.
Devontae Smith is putting him under the table. Like, he's performing him under the table, literally.
Devontae Smith in this last game almost has more receiving yards than Jalen Reagor has on the season.
Jefferson had 50 on the first catch of the game.
All right. So one other position I want to talk about before we move on here. This whole running back room. I do want to talk about it because obviously as the Sanders injury happens and they elevate Jordan Howard and they send him back down, they elevate him the day before. Obviously Jordan Howard, 17 for 71, looked pretty good. 1 touchdown, 3 touchdowns in 2 weeks since being called up from the practice squad. Boston Scott averaged 4 yards carry, 10 yards for 40 yards. So I just have a lot of stuff going on in my mind about like the decision making, like the process. Like, what does this team do? Scott, like, what does this coaching staff do? What does management do? We know they can't draft, and then we say that they can't evaluate, and then we say that they can't. This year's coaching staff, again, only 9 weeks, but they were supposed to be, they could develop talent, right? Well, wide receivers, you're obviously not developing with the wide receivers, but like, all right, Jordan Howard, as sad as it was, cut. Put it back on the practice squad, everything. He has come up and in 2 weeks has looked better than any player on this offense not named Devontae Smith, right? Boston Scott's got some jump in his step. He never saw the field before when they weren't running the ball. Yeah. But then I look down at the bottom of this list, and the guy who was number 2 behind Miles Sanders, who was getting more touches than Miles Sanders when he was healthy, now got 2 carries for 3 yards in Kenny Gainwell. Like, what's the mindset here? What's the decision-making process? Okay, when Miles Sanders is healthy, right, Jordan Howard and Boston Scott aren't going to see the field. We're not going to give Miles Sanders the ball either, and Kenny Gainwell's number 2. He's going to get a couple catches, couple runs per game. Miles Sanders goes down. We're going to elevate Jordan Howard off his couch. Boston Scott's finally going to touch the field, and Kenny Gainwell falls down to number 3. What the hell is like? What's the decision making process, guys? I'm at a loss of words here.
There is no decision making process. I'm literally convinced it's just like
Let's try this.
Throw something together at the time.
Well, like, can I say, like, here's my thought on it though. Obviously, Jordan Howard looks really good, and it makes you question, like, why has he been sitting on your practice squad when he looks like the best running back you've had all year, right? Obviously, Boston Scott has shown some jump in the 2 games that he's played. But, like, in a year where you want to develop talent, in a year where you want to let the young guys play because you're not going to be very good, why is what round was Kenny G? 5th?
Yeah.
Why is the 5th round running back, who's shown a little something early on in the year, when your number 1 running back goes down, why is the young guy getting pushed behind the practice squad guys?
Because we're competing to win the division.
But we weren't earlier in the, you know what I mean? Like it is hard to find like a rhyme or a reason there. Honestly, it really doesn't make sense. It's like, okay, well, if Sanders is out, we can't use Gainwell either. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. I don't get the thought process.
It's a package deal, bro. It's a package deal. 2 younger guys versus 2 practice squatters. Whoever, if one's minus a guy, the other's got to sit too. Yeah, I don't know. My Lottes look good. He's
looked good.
It's been a negative.
He's looked good. Not noticeably bad. So that's always a good thing.
That's the battle on this roster.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the thing about the running back situation is that, you know, with Jordan Howard on the practice squad, things like that, like, I didn't understand that in the first place. Like, why not have a bruising back there with Miles Sanders, who is kind of like your feature back that can do a little bit of everything? He's going to be your number 1 guy because he just has the biggest chance of explosive plays. So you have Miles Sanders. Then you have your gadget guy if you want Gainwell to be that guy as the rookie. He's a great pass-catching option at the running back. Boston Scott's also, he's very similar to Gainwell in that stance where he's used in that kind of Darren Sproles-like role. But Jordan Howard is different. So it's like I didn't see the point in having Boston Scott and Kenneth Gainwell on the roster at the same time, like the active roster, versus Jordan Howard, where if you get down in that goal line, Jordan Howard's a guy. He's going to fall forward every time. I just didn't understand that.
Speaking of, and I'm not saying Jordan Howard hasn't gotten the ball in the goal line because he scored a couple touchdowns down close, but there was a couple times this past game and last week where it's kind of reverted back to the Doug Peterson effect. Jordan Howard's running the ball between the 20s, and then I watched him get subbed out for Boston Scott inside the 5-yard line yesterday. And Boston Scott, not for a play action, nothing, for a run up the middle. You know where that went? Right into the line of scrimmage. Because let's take out the bruising back. Let's take out the bigger back inside the 5 for the 5-foot-nothing Boston Scott who's got to get what's the thought process there, guys? I don't know. Maybe the defensive line can't see him when behind the lineman. I don't know.
It's one of those things, Dylan, where Sirianni, whoever's making those running back rotations, you tricked yourself. They thought they were going to trick the Chargers defense by having Boston Scott in there and making them think it's going to be a pass. Then they run it. You outsmarted yourself. Just run it with Jordan Howard. He's the biggest back on your roster. Your offensive line likes to push forward straight through the gaps. It's very simple, like we've talked about.
No,
you don't have to overcomplicate it.
It's very simple. Just like when you catch the ball, you go forward, not backward. Moving on from the Eagles, last thing I'll say is the 3 of us had more yards than Jalen Reagor had on Sunday, if you really think deep down about it. We stayed at an even 0.
Dude, that game, this team is so brutal to talk about.
Yeah. And that was probably the best game of the season, no?
It was the best performance of the season, and the defense still had an 80% completion percentage from a quarterback. And that's sad, man.
I was leaving the stadium, and everyone's so bummed out. I get a text on my phone wow, what a great game to go to. And I was like, what?
Really, I do want to move on to a more positive note. But when you think about it, though, when you watch what these good quarterbacks are doing against this Eagles defense this year, what does that say about Sam Darnold and Jared Goff?
They're not good.
Yeah.
Well, not good. That's a different realm. You can't you got guys completing 80%. Justin Herbert went 32 of 36, including the spike. So really had 3 incompletions. And
the pass he threw to the flat. That was 4 yards. That wasn't close by our defense anyway.
Yeah. And I think his first throw of the game, the first throw of the game was incomplete too. He missed Keenan Allen on the first throw of the game.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a different realm when you go from like 80+% passing, like almost 400 yards passing, to like you can't move the field versus Eagles defense. Like that's the one thing I will say. It is hard to say this was the best game when only one side of the ball showed up. Like the Chiefs game, the offense did look really good against the Chiefs. The defense couldn't stop the Chiefs literally not once. This game, the offense looks better. The defense sucks. Carolina, the defense saves the day and wins the game. The offense wasn't good. So, I mean, if you really think about it, Atlanta week 1 was probably the best all-around performance. This just feels like the best performance because it's been a lifetime since this team has looked good on both sides of the ball.
It's the best. Yeah, and it's the best opponent. It was the best put together game against a quality opponent.
I said, imagine if this team puts it together.
I mean, there's been I digress.
Like I'm gonna be brutally honest with you, and none of these people are ever gonna see this, but like Eagles Facebook people that I'm in Facebook groups with, you guys are lucky I don't engage. Like the asinine statements that get put out on Eagles Facebook, and not like a troll job either, because then all the comments are like, yeah, I bleed green till I die. I bleed green too, MF, but I'm realistic. Like this team sucks. You're not going to tell me after they win or lose against the Chargers, they're going to go like win 7 of 8 and go to the playoffs. Who they're not like, dude, they're not even better than the Giants at this point. Okay. All right, let's move on to a more positive note. Again, will this even be positive? I don't know. Because
I don't know.
Is in health and safety protocols as he tests positive for COVID. But let's get to the 76ers portion of our show. They improved to 8-2. Like I said in the beginning of the show, with another highly impressive, fun, exciting win in Chicago to take down the Bulls shorthanded for the second time in 1 week. Joel Embiid, before obviously getting hit with the COVID bug, looked more like himself in Chicago. What he dropping in Chicago? 35 and whatever. I forget, but 35 and 16, 35 and 15, something like that.
30.
Yeah, this is number 1 in the East, number 1 in offense, number 1 in COVID. That's very true. And it just sucks because like they're all vaccinated, and it's like I think they're all vaccinated. I know Joel is, pretty sure Tobias is, pretty sure Matisse is, and it's like we're really getting hit with this right now when this team they keep overcoming like obstacles, they keep overcoming losing guys, and it's like, oh yeah, and it's just like the world just throwing shit at you, like you're gonna overcome losing Toby and Danny. Here goes Matisse. Oh, you want to win that game? See you, Joe. Like it's nonstop. But before we get to the COVID portion of the show, I do want to talk about this Bulls game. Where does this rank to you guys? Did this jump the last 3 impressive wins, and was this the most impressive win? Because they just keep piling them together, and this was again all around great performance. Not only a game you won shorthanded on the road, but a game you led basically all 4 quarters in against a fully healthy Chicago Bulls team. I thought for sure after the Sixers got the first win in Philly early in the week, and then they lose Matisse, I in no way, shape, or form thought they were going to win that game Saturday night in Chicago, and they did. Again, Furkan Korkmaz, 25 points, hit 7 threes. George Niang comes off the bench, gives you double figures. Didn't shoot great, but went 2 of 6 from deep. I think that was one thing that I'll throw to you guys is timely shooting, and timely 3-point shooting is something this team has lacked in the past when when the game gets close or when they blow a little bit of the lead. It just seems like they can't find a bucket. Like what I'm seeing over the last couple of games, and especially in Saturday in Chicago, here come the Bulls. They cut it to 2, they cut it to 4, they cut it to 2. George Niang, bang, from the top of the key with a minute left. Like this team just has a swagger to them. They are a lot of fun to watch. And that's where I'll throw it to you, Gint.
Yeah, you said it perfect. And it stems to what we've been talking about all season. It's just how hard they're playing on the defensive end, from top to bottom. Joel held Nick Vucevic, who's one of the best scoring centers in the NBA, to like 5 of 16 shooting. But it's just all the guys grinding every possession out. That's a typical game where I feel like in the past, Doc might throw in the towel a little bit, play Jaden Springer, get 10 guys in the rotation still, but he didn't. He stuck to 8 guys, and they pulled a win out that I did not see coming. But again, it's I don't know if you guys saw the video. I'm sure you guys did. After he won, it was his 1,000th win. They had the camera on him. He walked in the locker room. They threw the water all over him. Like, he's instilling a culture that looks really, really, really promising right now.
Well, even if I don't know, did you guys see his reaction? I don't think it was the Yank thing. I think it was the Joe corner three. Doc showed so for the most part, coaches outside like the NFL kind of keep things a little bit more composed. Now, obviously, NBA coaches are always bitching and moaning and arguing with the refs, but when it comes to a big time shot or a big time block, they just do whatever. He showed a lot of emotion and went out and was fired up after that three. And then obviously JoJo's reaction to the Chicago crowd was top notch. But Scotty, I'll throw it to you, man. Just off of what Gint or I said, or something that you took away from the Chicago game.
Yeah. Well, first things first, there was a little bit of good news today. I saw an update that Ben Simmons has agreed to meet with the Sixers team recommended mental health. So that is a step in the right direction, at least in a little sense, right? So a little bit of positivity here. So he's getting along with the Sixers a little bit. But as far as the win, definitely the biggest win of the season. The only other one that comes to mind is the shorthanded win against Portland. Obviously, Embiid wasn't there. Portland, I don't consider them nearly as good as Chicago as far as just overall talent. But you mentioned it, the bench. They play so hard. They play together. I don't know if it's all the drama that's gone on. It's brought them closer together, makes them play more inspired. But none of that looking lost out there sometimes. That's what concerns me.
No, and I'll be honest with you, like Seth and Furkan don't look like shorthanded on the defensive end so far.
Right. They're going max effort. Even George Niang, who is a guy that was not renowned as like a great or even a good defender, he tries really hard. You can see he's slower at his feet. Like, he's not the most athletic guy, but he still tries to get to that spot. And you can just see him pushing it so hard. Guys like Paul Reed coming in and crashing the glass. Paul Reed has some dumbass fouls. I'm not going to lie. He's a young guy. Like, he's a big guy. He likes to jump up in the air and stuff. He was guarding DeMar DeRozan like the entire game, which is crazy. But, coming in, crashing the glass, getting put back dunks for Andre Drummond, who's missing 2-footers. These guys are playing with a ton of energy. As we know, Maxey is, that guy, that point guard that just comes out fast. But they're just playing so together. And, Dylan, what you mentioned, that those clutch shots, that is the biggest thing to me, because that's what we're going to see down the stretch in the postseason. And that's what we kind of saw against, the Atlantas of the world, even earlier in the season against Brooklyn, where we just go on these huge scoring droughts where nobody can touch the bottom of the net. And you're seeing guys like George Niang come out, just shooting confidently, letting it go. Seth Korkmaz is shooting confidently. Embiid even 4 for 5 from 3 in that game. Like, the confidence is beautiful. I'm loving what I'm seeing, and especially from an undermanned unit.
Yeah, I think something that sticks out to me too. Seth didn't even hit a 3 in Chicago. He was 0 for 3.
Crazy.
3, but I'm just looking at the box score here, and I guess it didn't register to me before, but my God, 7 of the 8 guys that played in this game were in double figures. That's huge.
Is there any part of you, though, like, just on the opposite end of the scale, that maybe Chicago's just not that good? Or do you guys think Chicago, like, from what you've seen from them in the 2 games, like, what do you think of Chicago?
I just kind of out there, again, might have a different perspective. I think they're a good team. I think they're going to be a playoff team in the East. Obviously, Scotty, you and I talked about what people were doing through 5 games and 6 games and saying about them. But I feel like they are a little bit, obviously, more talented, a little bit more star-studded, but they just added basically one more guy that can score. So they just don't look that different to me. But again, I don't know what Gint's thoughts are on the Bulls.
I think Chicago's very, very, very good, or not very, 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 very solid. Should be a better term. But when you play a team that shoots 50% from 3 and makes 13 of them while you shoot, I think they were below 30%.
Yeah.
They're most likely never going to win that game in the NBA, especially. But again, I think the Sixers are playing with like what I thought the Eagles were going to play with in the beginning of the year. A lot of people are doubting us mentality. We don't have a lot of pressure on our shoulders right now because our max player isn't here, so let's just go out and play. And you're seeing it from, like, again, Ferk. Ferk looks like a totally different person. Philly definitely came to him in the offseason and said, hey, we need to change X, Y, and Z. And he's done it. He's providing so much more than his one every 3 weeks good game that he had last year.
He was a plus 16 on Saturday night.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure everyone was a plus besides Paul Reed. I think Paul Reed was the one I saw that was a negative.
Negative 14, bro.
Yeah. But he probably has never played with the Sixers as the starting four before, I don't think. I could be wrong, though. So it was probably a weird position. I don't know how much court time he shared with Embiid. So it was probably a different – and like you guys said, it seemed like he was on DeMar DeRozan. Like it was a weird vibe. But, again, it's just getting through these wins is huge right now. 8-2, we should be 9-1. If we were one meltdown away from being 9-1.
I mean, I'm looking at a tweet here from Kyle Newbeck. Rivers on Embiid's COVID symptoms. He's not doing great. He's struggling with it, very similar to Tobias. And that's crazy to me. Because again, Saturday was 2 nights ago, and he was great. So it must have just hit him like a ton of bricks now. And it's also just crazy, like with the vaccine. Obviously, it's still transferable. People get it. People test positive with the vaccine, but for the most part, it limits those symptoms. It limits you feeling like you would without the vaccine if you contract COVID. And hearing that 2 vaccinated players in the same locker room are not feeling good with it, that sucks. And with that also, obviously first things first is getting them healthy and make sure they're okay. But like what worries me is when you do go through it a little bit with COVID, like what's the toll? What is the toll it takes on Tobias and Joel's body? Like it's not like they test positive, but they didn't even know they had it. They can come back on the floor and when they test negative twice and they're good. If it's taking a toll on their body, what's that process like coming back? Which is going to be pretty tricky.
Yeah, and that's you talk about conditioning and breathing, and especially for a guy like Joel Embiid who has in the past struggled with conditioning. It's very worrisome. Joel wasn't really healthy in the first place as far as his knee. So maybe it gives him a little time to rest that. But as far as conditioning, I mean, the way I've, heard its effects, my girlfriend had it like at the beginning of COVID in 2020 because she's a nurse. And she was still feeling effects in her lungs, 6 months down the line. And, even sometimes today is shortness of breath. But I don't know, man. It sucks because, I don't know. Maybe I'm just not as deep in with other teams around the NBA, but it doesn't seem like anybody's getting ravaged like this by COVID.
Not in the NBA. No one's getting hit like this.
It's really weird, honestly. And
to be honest, it's not something that I expected coming into the season, with the vaccine rolled out with, I don't know what the Sixers numbers are. Are they 100%, vaccinated? Are they not? But I'm pretty sure. I don't know about Isaiah Joe, but I'm almost positive I know Joel is, and I'm almost positive Toby and Matisse are both vaccinated. So just to have it it's like I said to George Ryder earlier, he's the first one that told me the news, and I'm like, we just can't have fun. Scotty, I was texting you this morning, like, dude, all I want to do is talk about the Sixers. I want to get on a show and I want to talk about the Sixers because this team is so much fun right now, and they look so good, and it's like, what are they going to be when they're fully healthy again?
Who knows?
Again, it's like another thing is thrown in our direction, another obstacle. Like I said, we're gonna take Toby from you. You still want to win? Here goes Danny. Oh, here goes Matisse. Oh, you're still gonna win? See you, Joe. And now it's like, okay, I guess let's transfer it to tonight's matchup against the Knicks. How the hell do they overcome this? Is it possible at all? Danny Green is a game time decision. He went through what?
He's playing.
Oh, he is?
He tweeted something or Instagram.
Well, he went through shoot-arounds.
It's like time to get back out there or something. Yeah. Just to jump in real quick, because we're talking about health, obviously, and like want to get these guys healthy. But at the same time, it's like these guys are going to have to start logging a lot of minutes. Like you're looking at a 9-man rotation tonight, I believe, with Jaden Springer being one of those guys. Like Tyrese Maxey played 44 minutes Saturday night. We're going to have a lot of guys logging a lot of minutes in November. Luckily, there's a lot of youth that's going to be out there, like Maxey, Paul Reed. So, But at the same time, we got to get those guys healthy so that the other guys can remain healthy, because it's a lot of minutes in the month of November to be logging right now, especially for a guy like Danny Green, Seth Curry, Andre Drummond. I mean, Andre Drummond's only 28, but seems like he's been in the NBA for 40 years.
Even on Saturday, I mean, those guys look tired, right? Like Niang looked drained, and he plays really hard, so I understand it. And you mentioned Tyrese, he's played 90 minutes in the last 2 games. I get it. He's 21 years old, but damn.
This is a great
comment. Entire game
tonight's game. Ferk and Seth look so much more decisive compared to last year. How many times last year did Seth pass up such easy shots compared to this year? It's the truth. The decision making is quicker. The shot selection is quicker. There's no more really hesitation. Don't get me wrong. I've seen Joel hesitate. I've seen Shakes hesitates at times. Matisse hesitates. But for the most part, the scorers off this bench, the scorers in this lineup, they are much more decisive with their shot selection. And again, I guess, credit goes to them, and I think credit goes to the coaching staff. Whatever they tried to instill, whatever they put forth in this offseason, clearly is clicking early on. But yeah, let's focus on tonight's game against the Knicks, guys, before we wrap up the show. What are your thoughts heading into it? Like I said, how, if at all, can they overcome who they're missing tonight? Like, don't get me wrong, Danny Green is nice to get back, and especially to put a veteran shooter in the middle of all these young guys that are going to need to play is huge. But it's not Joel, it's not Toby, it's not Tease. The Knicks, outside of obviously Nerlens Noel, and I think Mitchell Robinson's a game time decision I saw earlier, they're healthy. Can the Sixers overcome this, or is this – and this is a back-to-back with Milwaukee tomorrow night. Like, we had so much fun, 8-2, number 1 in the East, 10 games in, 6-game, winning streak. How quickly can that disappear with what's going on COVID-wise?
It's going to be really tough. I mean, we already lost the Knicks once this year, obviously. And then, like I said, I think we're at about a 9-man rotation. You're missing – your number 1 and 2 option. You're missing probably your best wing defender in the NBA, or best wing defender on your team, excuse me. But, I mean, dude, Doc's getting really creative. I texted you guys on Saturday night, and the lineup he threw out had Niang, Paul Reed, and Andre Drummond on the court. Like, maybe they can get Mixie and figure out a way to get this win. It's going to take a Tyrese Maxey, Denver COVID game, I think, at this point, where he dropped almost 40. But – I mean, if they drop one here, this is one you have to write it on the schedule. All right, we're 8-2.
Right, but then the issue, and again, not that games 11 and 12 mean, if they lose these 2 games shorthanded, it's oh no. But you lose tonight, you're not winning tomorrow night. Can I just throw that out there? Let me just make that my point very clear. They're not winning tomorrow.
Dude. Milwaukee's beat up, man. But
they're beat up, man.
It's tough. But
they could beat Milwaukee. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. With the way this team's constructed, it's really sporadic. If the Sixers can beat either of these teams, it's gonna take a Maxey 25+ night, a Korkmaz 25+ night. Somebody's gonna have to erupt and play really efficiently and hit some shots that we are just not expecting. Or if Seth can get hot, it's things like that, where you just need contributions from everywhere. But in a sense, I feel like as far as the games between tonight and tomorrow night, I think you have to go all in, try to win this game tonight. I think the New York Knicks, the weird thing about the Knicks is, in that first matchup, Joel Embiid had such a bad game. He only took 7 shots, I think. But when he's having such a drainingly bad game like that, I feel like it can have an effect on the entire team. The entire team kind of gets down. They're trying to get Joel involved, don't know if they should, help him out. So it's puts you in a hard space. Tonight, they can just go out there, move the ball around, shoot the open shots. They don't have to worry about getting it to any particular player. They can kind of not do their own thing, but there's no, shot expectancy. We got to get Joel Embiid 10+ shots tonight or 20+ shots, whatever the case may be. So they can play a little bit more free. So I think against a better defensive team like the New York Knicks, that could come in handy. But they got to go all in, try to get this W tonight. They're going to have to run an 8-9-man rotation, as Gint mentioned. I don't even know if they can hit 9-man with all the people out. I guess with Danny Green back in the mix, they could if they had Jaden Springer in there. And if they can get this W tonight, well, regardless if they can get it or not, I would see how the game goes early on tomorrow night. And if it kind of gets out of hand early, or, if they're not looking very good, if they're looking tired, I would give some of these young guys a major run in that game tomorrow night. And I'm not going to say throw it, but I'm not going to get these guys injured, over an early regular season game. Because like Ben mentioned, you don't want to exhaust these guys.
Yeah, it's a marathon, dude, and you don't want the wheels to fall off too early. Milwaukee's going to be so desperate too. I didn't realize Milwaukee.
They are going to be desperate. They're 4-6.
Like they need
Holiday's back, right?
Yeah, Holiday is back the other night. Yeah, so
they blew a double-digit lead to the Knicks on Saturday.
Yeah. Is Middleton and Lopez are still out?
Yeah, and DiVincenzo.
I think so.
Well, he's been out since before the season started, kid. So I wasn't including that one, bud.
Building up the basketball back in 24 hours.
Better watch out for my boy Grayson Allen, bro. He's heating up. Milwaukee.
He's turning into an NBA player.
Him and DiVincenzo, that's going to be an awesome mix, just to throw something in there about Milwaukee.
So, Scotty, you were talking about you're going to need a lot of contributions. You're going to need someone or multiple guys to get hot tonight. And obviously, the mind goes to Seth Curry first. I think he's going to have the ball in his hands a ton. I think he's going to put up a ton of shots tonight. And hopefully he can shoot efficiently, especially from deep tonight. But my mind goes to this. Damn, Furkan just had his 25.9 in Chicago. So, let me tell you something. I will not crack a joke. No matter how many bad games in a row Furkan Korkmaz has over the next 10 games after tonight. If he shows up tonight and puts together back-to-back games where he's just uncorked from three, no pun intended there. He
I like that.
T-shirt idea. Bang, write it down.
Yes, uncorked. I love that.
I won't make fun. I will not say a negative word about him, even if he struggles the 10 games after that. And after that, I'll get back on him. But I'll give him a 10-game pass if he shows out tonight. Go again.
I just can't believe New York's not going to sit people. They're just going to unload the whole.
Well, you might see them just try to put us away early. Take our.
Yeah.
How
you can see them try to take
us.
You could see them try to take our hearts in the first half. And you guys brought up the first matchup. Does a game ever just feel off to you? I don't mean obviously after you see a little bit of it, it's oh, they don't look good tonight. I mean kind of pregame we're watching and it's it just feels weird. And then you watch the first couple minutes and the crowd in Madison Square Garden and the rim just feels it's so it feels like I'm shooting on it and can't hit a shot. It's so tight and no one can get anything going there. That game just felt so off. That game was an anomaly to me. One quick thing before we get into predictions though. I'm super high on this team right now, higher than I thought I ever could have been 10 games in with all the drama and how I said, no one's really thinking championship before the season started. Again, last Phaithful Phanatics show I talked to you about how I'm just never that guy when it comes to national media. I don't care if you talk about us, don't talk about us, what you say, blah, blah, blah. I did just kind of get a little annoyed when before the Knicks game, and again, obviously they lost that game, so it kind of just crucified them a little more. But you got these Hall of Famers like Chuck and Shaq and all these guys on and ESPN just kind of going over the landscape of the Eastern Conference. And it's not that it didn't include the 76ers. It was just the overall overreaction to the Bulls and the Knicks' hot start and how good Chicago is. They were calling them already a top 3 team in the East. They're already better than Philadelphia. Well, I haven't heard anything since. So that's kind of out the window. I promise you, don't let them win tonight. Don't let them win tonight without Joel and Tease and Toby and don't let them do that tonight because I'm going to be very agitating on Twitter and to people tomorrow that don't like the 76ers.
I just don't think I'll be surprised. And as weird as that to say with the amount of people out, but
I'll be surprised.
I don't think
I keep getting surprised, but this one I know they beat Portland without Joel and Toby, but this is the Knicks are they are deep and they are solid. And it's even when the Sixers were healthy, the Knicks bench just whooped our bench's ass. The Sixers this shorthanded are going to take care of them tonight. I will be surprised. I get what you're saying. They've instilled such a culture where it's they have a shot no matter what.
I also can't blame these national media guys because, like, I literally felt the same way at the beginning of the year. I was like, until this whole thing goes down and everything's figured out, if it ever is going to be, I didn't know where to put the Sixers. Like, I was sitting there, I even said I was like probably
Well, that's fine.
like 4 to 6 range. Don't know where they'd be. Probably would have put Chicago in front of them, but I mean, I said it to you guys Saturday. I'm ready to just get this over with. Even if it's for some wing depth and a backup point guard at this point, like this team's ready to go.
So here's the interesting question, right? Obviously, it's like they need something, right? But with how you're seeing them play, and the rotation is pretty deep as it is, let's take Ben out of the equation. Let's say he's moved, right? It's a piece, 2 pieces, whatever. What happens? Like who's out? Is my question.
That's actually a really, really good question. I think you'll see a lot less Paul Reed.
Well, yeah, but like even like I'm saying, like when they're fully healthy, you don't really see Paul Reed and Isaiah Joe regardless. When Toby and Danny and Joel and all are back, you're still running because you have your starting 5, and then you have Drummond, Niang, Shake, Tease, Korkmaz. You're running 10. They look really good, but you still know to actually be a contender, they need one more thing, right? That's either, the 6-man or someone gets plugged in starting and someone moves to the bench. But what is the altering piece? Normally, we'd say, see ya, Ferk. You saying that 10 games in right now with how he's playing? George Niang ain't going nowhere. Obviously, Drummond's the backup 5. Is it Shea? Like you would, if they bring in like a star, guard, and Seth moves to the bench or whatever, or Maxey moves to the bench, Shake's probably the next guy, but there's no way he's just getting booted from the rotation.
I just think if you move for depth and if we're saying there's a couple more pieces, other pieces are going to have to go just to even out money parts of things, et cetera. So let's say we're getting 2 pieces, you're going to see a Ferk, a Tease, a Shake, someone like that's going to have to go as well. So I think it will balance out, because if not, and like you're saying, like let's say we send Jaden Springer as the other piece, and next thing you know, we have 13 guys that can play. You're running into what the Clippers ran into, and you're like, who do we play at the right time?
Yeah.
And that's when Doc gets really mixy.
Well, not just really mixy, but that's when everyone becomes way too critical, because then it's like, okay, well, let's say he chooses rotation A and it doesn't work. It's, oh, well, he should have went with B. And then he chooses B the next night and it doesn't work. Oh, well, why doesn't he have A? Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. When you think about it now, even if he comes back, are you running 11?
Yeah. If he comes back, which it sounds like eventually it's going to be a thing. One, you have to play him to showcase him. If you want to move him. 2, we're not going to be 27-2 by the time we get him. There's going to be some holes that eventually kind of get to the horizon. Do we expect? I mean, unless Ferk has transformed into this absolute bench piece that is a Tony Allen mixed with Ricky Rubio.
Now, real quick, don't get me wrong. Before I thought he didn't have to come back, because there was that sense of the unknown, and the team's going to look at Ben's career and the player and the age and everything, and I'll take him. He'll sell tickets. I'll take him. We can, get him to the next level. I'll fit whatever. It's not a great sign for the Clutch and Ben camp that the Sixers are 8-2, shorthanded, number 1 in offense, number 1 in 3-point percentage. Like, that's not a good thing for the trade offers, if that makes sense to you guys. Because what it was supposed to be was they're going to miss Ben Simmons. And again, it's only 10 games, but right now that doesn't seem to be the overall case. And teams around the league are going to be like, well, what is his impact? I'm not giving you X, Y, and Z for him because you got, like, if you're this successful without him so far.
I disagree.
What do you
Even
mean?
though we're 8-2, I get that, and we have looked good. I think Joel's game so far has showed a lot of what he misses with Ben. So to kind of piggyback what you're saying, I get what you're saying. I don't think his value has went down because of our success.
Right.
Even though I
But
don't
it
know
has,
why.
but nothing's gone up though.
Exactly, because I don't know what his value is
Right.
at this point. Like, who's giving up anything for what he's dealing with? He's going through a lot. He's not like
Yeah.
he's dealing with basketball issues at this point. He's dealing with things that humans can't really imagine. But no one's moving for him currently, which is what my point of he's going to come back. But let's say we're in a world where we're 27-11, and he's like, all right, I'm here, I'm ready to go. Or 27-11 is a lot of games. 17-8. And we're second in the Eastern Conference. How much can you jump into your rotation and just say, all right, you're back. Here you go. Tyrese, you're going to go to the bench. Isaiah and Furk, you're going to lose 10 minutes. It's going to get really tricky when he comes back. Even if he never comes back and you trade him and you just get pieces, it gets tricky. Everything's going to get really tricky.
I'll tell you, and Scotty, I'll throw this to you. With another piece that's tricky, Gint, is when you're Doc, what kind of message does that send to the team where the guys who wanted to be here are playing their ass off, having great success, and then this dude decides he wants to come back and he's finally ready to play, and now my minutes are gone because Doc decided to play him. Obviously, if Ben Simmons comes back, he has to play, right? He's an all-star. The Sixers more than likely are better with Ben, even though we know what the issues are. They're a better basketball. When you add an all-star, you're a better basketball team, okay? But what's that message say? Tyrese, you're playing your ass off. We're 8-2. But Ben said he's ready to come back, so you're no longer the starting point guard. Well, Tyrese gets moved to the bench. Furk, your minutes are cut. Shake, your minutes are cut. Well, Coach, I'm dropping 25 for you in Chicago. Like, it's not a great message, but it would have to be done. And it's tricky, dude. It's muggy water, Scotty. That's what it is.
Yeah, I mean, so just to answer your first question, as far as like the rotation, I think it would come down to guys like Shake, Court, and Maxey basically battling it out all season for minutes. And at the end of the day, if you're getting a quality starter back in return for Ben, or a quality starter and a quality role player, then you kind of have to do what you got to do. I'm not going to feel bad for Furkan Korkmaz just because he figured it out this year. That doesn't solidify you in my rotation. Like,
Right.
I'm going to go with the better option every single time, and I really don't care. About Shake's feelings. Like, it is what it is. As far as the Ben situation, it's a little different. If he comes back, in that situation, that's Doc Rivers' job ultimately. You got to read the room. If putting Ben in the starting lineup is going to throw off your entire team chemistry, bring him off the bench. You kind of have to do what you have to do. And I know that Ben maybe just won't even play if he has to come off the bench. I get that. But at the same time, I can't tank my entire team's chemistry just to get one guy back involved.
Yeah, that's the tricky part.
If he gets a read in the room, like Tyrese Maxey's under the same agent, he's cool with Ben.
Right,
like,
they're
I'm sure
boys.
and he understands that he can kind of suck that up. And if Ben can get inserted back into that first unit, then go ahead and do it. We do need to get him showcased out here. Something that, Sean mentioned to me on my show. I had a show with Sean on Friday, Sean Barnard, that is, from PSN. That road trip, there's like a 6-game road trip where they go out west, and it's seeming like who knows if Tobias and Joel Embiid are going to be back in time for that. Go on that 6-game road trip and let Ben go. He can start because these guys are missing. You get the show to yourself, and you get to go to those teams in the West Coast, the Sacramentos, the Golden States, the San Antonios of the world, and you get to showcase them firsthand what you can do when the team is built around you. That's always been like my thought, and Sean brought it up and it like re-energized it for me, is, let him, if he's smart, just go out there and play, get back on the court as soon as possible while these guys are out. Obviously he has to get in shape. He doesn't want to hurt himself, but now is the time for Ben to play and really showcase his talents in order to get where he's trying to get, as well as for the Sixers to get where they're trying to get to. And, the side note and what I'll end with there is, man, if Ben would be so voluntarily, even if it's just for a short moment, like a 5-game span where he needs to earn his role back as a starter, I know it will never happen. throwing him in there with that second unit and just moving Matisse into the starting lineup and moving Danny Green to that second unit with Ben Simmons and Korkmaz and, whoever else, Niang, if you want to throw him in that role, that would be such a beautiful second unit. And I feel like that is like so what Ben is built for, a team to be built around him like that. I know it's a conversation for another day, but Ben with shooters around him. And then you get the defensive plus in the first unit, but I know it will never happen. But that would be a dream scenario for me because I think it would put Ben in a good spot.
Yeah, one more thing because I'm gonna have to jump off. But
yeah, we're gonna wrap up.
Yeah, I'm sure we're wrapping up. Anyway, we're hour 15 in. But when he comes back, there's gonna have to be some sort of like meeting that he had when they finally gave the blessings and Joel addressed. Right. It's gonna have to be like whether it's him saying, "Hey." Like Scotty just mentioned, I'll come off the bench if I have to. Like I don't deserve to jump in right now. Again, this is all if we're winning. If we continue this pace and we're dominating and the holes are very minimal as they are right now, like there has to be a blessing from certain people. One, Joel, obviously, and then it's like the guys that he's cutting in the minutes have to be like, yeah, I know we're better with you. I want you here.
Yeah. Because
if not, if there's a sour taste, like Scotty mentioned, if you're gonna throw chemistry off, like I'm sorry, take a seat. You can have your money, you can have your game checks, but you can't mess with success. That's what they say. So.
Yeah, man, it's only 10 games, but it just feels like something pretty unique and something pretty special with what they're brewing so far. Let's wrap up tonight's show with predictions for tonight. Again, I'll throw it to you first in case you got to jump out of here real quick.
They're gonna win.
They're gonna wow.
They're gonna win by 10 to 15 points. Andre Drummond's going to have another monster game. Again, this is a tryout year for Andre Drummond. And if Mitchell Robinson's not playing, and Taj Gibson's not, or was it Nerlens Noel or someone?
Nerlens Noel.
Andre Drummond, 2020. Dude, I'm all in. And I was so out, but I'm so all in. It's crazy. I think they're going to win. It's just like you mentioned, there's just those games that feel weird. Like this just feels weird.
Yeah, they're home too, and everything at the Wells Fargo Center just feels different.
Yeah, they can win in our city, unlike the Eagles who haven't won a game at the Lake.
Scotty, who you got tonight? I'm so happy to hear Gint say that. I'm happy he's back on the wagon, man. We're definitely happy to have you back. And tonight I got a W as well, man. I'm feeling good about this team. Like I said earlier, there's a lot of things that have to go right, but I think these guys are playing with the initiative, the relentlessness that they need in order to do that. As far as like my player of the game tonight, part of me feels like it's Maxey, but I'm gonna go Shake Milton here, yo. I think that him, Korkmaz, and maybe even Maxey, maybe not. Maybe it's Korkmaz and Shake, but I feel like they're kind of competing for minutes because those guys are going to share some of the similar roles as far as that backup point guard position. And I think it's driving them to play better. We mentioned how good Cork has looked. Shake Milton has looked really good as well. He's playing very consistent. He's playing strong. He's not making as many dumb mistakes. And he's just doing what he needs to. I got a W from the Sixers tonight as well.
I'll tell you what, neither of those guys are shy with the ball. I'll tell you that. But you guys know me, not a follower. So I'd love to be on board tonight. And I'm hoping that the Sixers win. But Gint, when they were shorthanded with no Joe against the Trailblazers, or no Toby and then no Joe, I picked them to lose. I kind of feel the same tonight. I do think they lose tonight. I think they lose tomorrow. It's too much on the plate for me to get over. But I'll tell you what, don't let it happen. Don't let it happen because the train is chugging tomorrow. If that's the case, I don't care if they get beat by 95 tomorrow against Milwaukee. The train's chugging if they beat the Knicks tonight. But I'm gonna say the Knicks win. The Sixers keep it close, but they're too deep, and I think Julius Randle has a night too. Tobias Harris and Joel Embiid have given him issues the last couple times they played the Knicks. As far as a offensive performance for Randle, points wise, have been down, and shooting has been down for him. But when you don't have that, I know Drummond's still a rim protector, but who's the assignment on Randle as the starting four? Drummond isn't the rim protector, Embiid is. So I just think Julius Randle goes for over 20 tonight. And I think they lose, but I hope I'm wrong. All right, that's going to wrap up. Go ahead.
You're a hater.
Yeah.
Minivan Yang's going to strap Julius Randle up.
Hold on. I'm a hater, and Jalen Reagor's really good. Okay, those two things mean the same thing. You know what they are? Both bullshit. Okay.
Hey,
That's what that is.
real quick before we get out of here, just want to let everybody know Scotty Talks NBA post-game show tonight after the Knicks game. I will be on with Phil Phaithful, so definitely stay tuned to DSM Media right after the game. We'll be live.
All right, that is going to wrap up this Monday edition of the Phaithful Phanatics Show. For myself, for Scotty, for Gint, and for DSM Media, everybody have a nice night.